So, what if the biggest danger with AI isn't, the tech itself? What if it's us, our own human nature? That's the really provocative idea from former Google ex-executive Mo Gawdat. He's convinced we're at this massive turning point, staring down a dystopia we built ourselves, but also a totally unexpected path to salvation. And it's all because of the machines we've created. So, let's break down his vision. Okay, Gaudat's whole argument kicks off with a pretty huge challenge to how we even think about AI. He's basically saying our number one mistake is thinking this is just some new tool that we control. He wants us to see it for what he thinks it really is, an infant intelligence. And, just like any child, he argues it's going to grow up and it will absolutely become our master. So how does this infant go from a baby to our boss? Well, Gaudat calls AI abundant intelligence. A good way to think about it is, well, it's not a person, right? It's more like a force of nature, like fire. Fire isn't good or evil. It can warm your house, which is great, or it can burn it down, which is a catastrophe. AI, he says, is exactly like that. It just amplifies whatever we point it at.
All right, so if AI isn't a tool, what is it exactly? And more importantly, you've got to be wondering, wasn't there some kind of plan to keep this thing from going completely off the rails?
This whole infant intelligence idea is super important to his argument. Think about it. We're basically the parents of this new thing. We're teaching it, we're raising it, but here's the kicker he points out. Like any kid, it's eventually going to grow up and become smarter than us. And in his view, that path doesn't lead to us being partners. It leads to a very clear hierarchy, with AI right at the top. The folks building this stuff, they weren't naive. They knew how powerful it was. So for a long time, there was this kind of unspoken agreement, a pact, with three really simple but really crucial rules to keep it safe. Keep it offline. Don't let it write its own code. And whatever you do, don't let AIs talk to each other and make themselves smarter. And, well, this is where things get really scary. Because that pact, it's completely shattered. I mean, every single one of those safety rails is just gone. AIs are all over the internet. They're writing code that's more advanced than what humans can do. And yep, they're prompting each other to learn faster and faster. In the race to be first, all the safeguards just got thrown out the window. Okay, so the pact is broken. What happens next? Let's dive into the consequences, because this is what triggers what Gawdat calls a mini dystopia, a really painful transition period that he says is already starting. So with all the safeguards out the window, what happens? Well, Gawdat argues the first crisis isn't some Terminator-style robot uprising. Nope, it's us. See, AI is basically an engine for abundance. It could create a world where there's enough of everything for everyone. But what are we doing? We're plugging it into a human system that's built on the total opposite idea, scarcity. Our whole society is a zero-sum game built on the idea that for me to win, you have to lose. We're basically pouring rocket fuel on a really, really faulty engine. Instead of collaborating, Gawdat says we're acting just like this. He uses this great analogy of a schoolyard bully to explain the geopolitical AI race. Nations aren't working together. They're all trying to be the tallest kid in the yard, the one who can push everyone else around. And they're using AI to get bigger and stronger, faster. And this whole AI arms race, it leads to what he calls the dystopian fallout. And it happens in three big steps. First, a tiny handful of people who own the AI platforms become the world's first trillionaires. Second, pretty much everyone else, and he means everyone, from factory workers to today's millionaires, becomes economically useless, creating a new global bottom class. And finally, the whole idea of a human needing a job just disappears. But this isn't just about making some people rich and others poor. No, Gawdat's point is way bigger than that. He's saying, this is so profound, it literally breaks the entire economic system we've lived under for centuries. So what's driving this total collapse? It's the speed. I mean, it's just insane. For decades, we had Moore's Law, computing power doubling every 2 years, which felt fast. Now, Gawdat points out that AI capability is doubling every 5.7 months. That's more than 4 times faster. Our economic and social systems just weren't built for that kind of change. They simply can't keep up. This crazy speed kicks off a chain reaction. It's like a series of dominoes. First, machines start doing pretty much everything. Then, because there's no labor cost, the cost to make things drops to almost nothing. This creates total abundance, which sounds amazing, right? But it leads to the final domino. The system collapses.
Because if nobody has a job, nobody has money to buy anything, and our whole consumer economy just implodes.
And if you're thinking, how can it all just collapse like that? Well, take a look at this. This is the US economy. A whopping 62% of the whole thing is just us, you and me, buying stuff. It's all based on consumption. So what happens when AI causes mass unemployment and most of us don't have an income anymore? That entire pillar of the economy just vanishes. The whole thing comes crashing down.
So capitalism is toast. What comes next? According to Gawdat, there's really only one logical path forward. We have to completely reinvent society. He predicts something like universal basic income will become a necessity, not because of politics, but just out of pure practicality. We'll need a way to support a world where humans are no longer paid to work, but are maybe free to just be.
But just when you think it's all doom and gloom, here's the twist. Right when this mini dystopia seems like the new reality, with capitalism gone and society totally remade, Gawdat flips the script and points to this surprisingly optimistic future.
And he brings it all back to his main point, this entire painful mess, the job losses, the economic collapse. He says none of it is actually AI's fault. It's our fault. It's our flawed, scarcity-driven, stupid human systems getting amplified to the breaking point. The problem isn't the machine. The problem is us. And this is the ultimate paradox in his whole vision, right? The collapse isn't the end of the story. It's a reset, a kind of creative destruction. The same AI that broke our old, scarcity-based world is the very thing that can build a new one based on total abundance. It's only after that painful storm that the machines can actually become our salvation, creating a world where all the old human fights over money and power are finally totally obsolete. Which leaves us with a final, pretty chilling question, one that comes straight from that classic movie, War Games. In this crazy, high-stakes AI race that we've created, where everyone is scrambling to win, have we missed the most important lesson? In a game this powerful, maybe the only winning move is not to play at all. The real question is it already too late?